everybody. It's your baby boomer Kitty Lane from the Peninsula in Virginia. Back with another Create and Relate. The first thing I'd like to do is thank all of my subscribers, new and regulars, and encourage you to please spread the word so that we can increase that number of subscribes. I'm trying to get to 50 this month, y'all. It's not going to be a struggle. We're going to do this. So, a little bit of a yarn haul. Yesterday was more of a yarn grab. It was an intentional yarn grab. I think I told y'all I couldn't finish Bumpy Rose, which was the blue shawl, without more blue. So, I went and got it yesterday. The name of it is Harmony. But you know, it's 100% acrylic, and it's a 4-weight. One of the ones that I said feels more like a 3-weight. I love the fact that the yarn doesn't split almost unless you intentionally split it. So I was talking to someone today, a relatively new crocheter, and I was telling him that I don't do well with the small hooks because I'm not one of those dainty crocheters. I go to work. So I need hooks that are going to work with me. Absolutely. So yes, today I did do yesterday I did do the intentional yarn grab. So in creating a budget, I allowed myself $75 for yarn until I become monetized, and then I can see better where I am. Because one of the key things is getting rid of this yarn that I have, which means that I really have to concentrate on crocheting more, being more diligent about my crocheting. With that being said, I got to keep peeping over my shoulder because I'm going to get in trouble for this one. So, you all know by now that purple is my favorite color. Purple is my favorite color. You cannot go wrong with purple with me. And I saw this. Manifest and chill. Well, manifest to me means, girl, get your blessings. And while I was going through Joann's, y'all, I don't think you understand. When I told y'all were holding out on me and telling me about this, and it's 100% acrylic if I'm not mistaken. Acrylic, yep. And it's a 3-weight. Told y'all I wanted to start working smaller. This is another whole shawl and bag right here. Yes. Of course, it's gnome. I had to get 2 of them, just to make sure I had enough. Sounds good. And then Joanne said, hey, we got these. Another 4-weight, 100% acrylic, yes. And this color is teal. You can smell a little bit of the packing in this, but then it smells like, I don't know, there's kind of a sweet smell to it. But by the time I put my coconut oil on and my coconut oil, essential oil, I have to, my hands have to be hydrated when I crochet because all yarns that I've ever experienced tend to feel really rough on my skin. I'm eczema prone, so everything kind of feels rough and snaggish on my skin. So I keep coconut oil close by. The reason for coconut oil, number one, it does not leave a residue on the material. Number two, your skin absorbs what it needs, and it doesn't leave an oily residue on your hands. It feels you can still function without dropping stuff. I have spilled coconut oil on the floor and have not gone skating as a result. This is like the floor soaks up what it needs. But I think it's the same with all surfaces when it comes to coconut oil. It takes what it needs and leaves the rest. So I got one of those, but it's something about these two colors together. This is called watermelon, and it's pretty much coral. I don't know if you can, it looks pinkish, but it's, trust me, it's coral. And my oldest daughter and I always dream of these two colors together. These two colors define heaven. And we're both purple lovers. But these two colors together. So the red and black shawl that I originally made for her, well, it's kind of maroon, yellow, and black. I'm actually going to put that in the choose pile. I have those that are designated for individuals. And that's my aunts, my granddaughters, my youngest daughters, mine. The other 6 shawls will go towards Michelle, my oldest daughter, and Aunt Gwen. And they get to choose between those 6 which ones they want. And then the other 3 will be donated from our little family towards prizes for the bingo that we play on Saturdays. And like I said, this is the first weekend in August, so I gotta get started working. It's my first coffee for the day, and it's almost 4 o'clock. So as I was riding my little scooter around, I happened to run across the other big twist. The little big twist. I thought that was so cute. Of course, these are 85% cotton, 15% polyester. They feel really good. They don't feel like the peaches and cream cotton at all. It is they wrote it so small. It's a 4-weight. And I said, what can I do with this? Because these were under $1. They're on clearance. So I got 3 of these. And I got 3 of these. And these are, I would say red, but they say cranberry. And I said, you know what, y'all? I can get a jump on Christmas. And I can go ahead on and start making my washcloth pairs. And we can get Christmas going. And I know it's a long time before Christmas, but keep in mind, I have shawls to finish. So by the time I think, with it being cotton, that's definitely something I can work on while I'm at the family reunion. And it's something, it won't be hot, you know. So, yeah. Whew. Okay. I can tell you that the swelling in my feet and legs have gone down considerably. Last night I used the 91% alcohol, rubbed my legs and feet down really well. And I did that again with the wintergreen alcohol. I had a little bit left. Used that and rubbed them down. And then I rubbed them down really good with coconut oil. Coconut oil is life. And when I got up this morning, I had my feet and legs back. I can feel them starting to swell a little bit now, probably because I'm sitting and my Falupa is cutting out the circulation again. But they feel really good. They're not sore. They don't feel the pressures that I normally feel in them. So I think that is great. I don't think I did bad with my yarn haul. Like I said, I allotted myself 75, and all total with what I got yesterday and today, I was just a tad over 50. I was like 51 and change, so say $52. So I'm still $23 to the good. And instead of buying more yarn with that, I'm going to put it aside. I'm putting that $23 aside. It's not even going in the emergency fund. I am trying to better my little system here so that I can bring better videos. I want to get a mic. I want to get, I really want to get a different camera. I love being able to record from my Chromebook. I think it's great, but I'm going to need something different, maybe just a tripod, but I really need the other camera because right now I cannot put anything else on my phone. I can't take pictures. I can't do any videos, nothing. And I go through and I clear out. I take pictures like a photographer. I will do 3 and 4 shots in one pose, and because sometimes it's something as simple as a smile or eye contact with the camera, or lighting or something. It might be a slight movement, hands closed instead of being open, or blocking the outfit or pattern. Anything could be wrong. So I take up to 5 of each pose, and I have spent a lot of time over the past week trying to go through those and get rid of the photos that I'm really not using for anything, not even for show and tell. And it's not freeing up as much space as I needed to free up. If I were to, right now, try to record a video, it would probably give me 3 minutes. And I know that I have deleted over 1,000 photos and over 50 videos. So that's something that I'm working on. I got to go through files and a whole lot of stuff I got to do. But that's why I, would say that I need another camera. But we'll work on that. We'll see. As long as the Chromebook is holding up and my little light is holding up, I want an O light for better viewing. And there's something else that somebody told me I needed. But the camera especially, because I do want to do tutorials. The one that I'm going to be doing, a little later on, is like so simple. And I really don't have to show it as much as I can just talk about it while I'm doing it. And it's going to be a replica of this skirt. So I'm excited about that. I am a little nervous, but excited at the same time. Now, I went to Walmart today for the purpose of getting what I forgot to get yesterday, which was, drum roll please, a battery for my scale. I got it, y'all. My face should be down to my knees right now because I did take my weight. And I promised you all that I would be completely transparent. And I'm not going back on that promise. One thing about me you'll notice over time is I take promises very seriously. Um, Usually when I meet people, I tell them, three things you want to know about me. If there's anything you want to know about me, ask me because nobody else can tell you about me better than I can. My daughter can come close, but nobody else can tell you about me better than I can. The second thing is I despise liars. It's the quickest way to lose my friendship, sisterhood, motherhood, aunthood, whatever. I don't care for liars. And the other thing right along those same lines, I'm not gonna lie to you. I am 60 years old, y'all, and my experience in life, it takes a lie to tell a lie, to tell a lie, to tell a lie. So I am too old to remember the lie that told the lie, that told the lie, that told the lie, and so forth and so on. I can't do all of that remembering, but I can remember what happened. I can remember the truth. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I didn't know the video was going to be this short. These packages are designed to be theft proof and child proof. Somehow, some way, when they create these packages, once you pay for it, something needs to be released. My teeth still hurt from trying to tear into this package to put that little bitty battery in my scale. Right here. It still hurt. And I only pulled a little bit. I only pulled a teensy weensy bit. Not a lot at all. And then my scissors didn't even want to cut it. I don't know if you remember, but about a month and a half ago, I went and bought a whole pack of scissors. They all got blue handles, and they were all cut a hair and a half the long way. If you just toss it up in the air and let it fall on the blade, they are super sharp. Super sharp. That's why I love them as crafting. I mean, and honestly, these scissors go from the little 2-inch blade all the way up to the 10-inch blade. So having the 10 scissors was great. They did us a great service out here in our little community. We have these flowers, this bush of flowers that they planted at the end of the patios. And they grow really tall, which to me is a hazard because our entryways, you have a front door which is in the breezeway, and we have what we call a back door or side door which goes out onto the patio. Well, the handicap spaces are right in front of my patio, and we tend to cut across and use that door. You know, that of course it's somebody's home because we let them know we're on our way, we'll unlock that door for them. But if one of us is outside and one of us is inside, and keep in mind, I like to go outside, sit on the porch, take up the outside. I call it my healing. And then I come inside, and I do it a lot in the evening. If I go out there one evening and that bush is as tall as it can get, somebody could be hiding on the other side of that bush. My first week here, I had to call 911 because I had a peeping Tom. And granted, all the things, that happen, they happen anywhere. I get that. It's not just here, you know. And yeah. So they need to make these packages a little more friendly for the people who have actually purchased them. Yeah, I mean something like once you scan it and once your payment goes through, then a core melts or something. Not a core of the battery, but the core of the packaging. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, this is harder to get into than a bank vault. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how difficult that is to get into. Uh, Stretching out the legs. I feel really good today, y'all. I really do. I feel really, really, really good and at peace today. I have not reached my crocheting quota a single day this month. But oh well, I'm still crocheting every day. I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm not going to let it get me down. And I did not come to you all about my weight. I cannot let that go. I was not happy with the number. The number was 342.2. I do know that a lot of that is attributed to the fluid. And the fluid, I looked at the fact, and then the time of day that I took my weight to, I had already had breakfast. I've had at least a half gallon of drink. And yeah, I'm sipping on coffee now. So there are a lot of contributing factors to that number. I'm pretty sure it would have been lower when I got up this morning, which it is my goal to take my weight first thing in the morning. I'm supposed to do it twice a day because of my heart condition, but definitely once a day. But now that, we got a battery, we can get that going. I will be telling you all in my first vlog of the day what my weight is. Because I'm going to start getting up early in the morning and going to do my girly stuff early. And then I can take my weight and pass that info along to you. My goal for this month is 5%, which is a tad over 17 pounds. So I have 24 days to come off of 17 pounds, which is like 0.66 so on pounds per day. So say 0.7 pounds a day, a little more than a half a pound a day. So I'm going to work on that. I got my little 70 ounces right here. We're not going to talk about how many calories breakfast brought in. Ooh, Lord. It was a whole homemade shrimp burrito. Yes, it was. Complete with black beans and rice and a third fat off Daisy sour cream, the low fat tortilla chip or tortilla wrap is the proper name for it. The rice, of course. Yeah, so, And then I had french fries with ketchup. But it was only a handful. So it wasn't a lot. And then, that was like 12:30 today. That was my breakfast. I got a late start again this morning. So, like I said, you look at it now, it's going on 4 o'clock.
Can I wash the pipes?
Excuse me, please. I'm back. That was my grandson. Was talking about my breakfast and what we had to eat and everything. But like I said, it's going on 4 o'clock and it'll probably be like another couple of hours before I eat anything. I am going to work on that as well because I do know that contributed to a lot of my falupa. Not eating. Especially not eating proper times. I went through a spell that I literally was only eating one meal a day, and it would be late at night, and That was not healthy. That was my, what I used to call my Bruner. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner all together. And then I would go to bed. The time that I lost the most weight, I went down from 349 to 198. I was trying to prepare myself to go into the army. And I was walking at least 3 miles a day, every day. Even on my off days, I would either walk to work or from work. If I walked to work, I caught a cab home. If I caught a cab to work, I walked home. And I probably could have lost a lot more, but I had a different lifestyle back then. So when I got off work, I would always stop at the corner store and get my 40 ounce. I'd get 2 of them, because one happened as soon as I got in the house. And then I would take my bath and prepare myself for the evening of relaxation, and then I would sip on the second one. But they had Fit TV, where they had the aerobics that you could do, and I would do those. I'd get up in the morning and do aerobics, and then I would take my bath and get dressed and go to work. I was drinking 56 ounces of coffee a day. That's how much the pot held. And I would fill up my 56 ounce big gulp cup from 7-Eleven. And that was my breakfast coffee. It would last me to the first break at work, at which time I would go outside and smoke a cigarette and converse with my co-workers. And at lunchtime, I'd go outside and smoke a cigarette and converse with my co-workers. And then when we got off, I would smoke a cigarette on the way to the store and grab my 240s and walk the rest of the way home, or ride the rest of the way home. And then when I got home, it was time to prepare dinner. That's when I'm drinking the first 40 and preparing dinner for the kids. And while they're eating, I'm taking my bath, and then I get out, and then it was mommy kid time. How was your day? What happened? What did you do? Ask my son, did you get a little girlfriend today? And talking to my daughter and asking her, what did you learn? Did you all read any books? What was the title? Those types of things. I always stayed engaged in their lives. Even when it came to community things, when they went outside and played, who was outside today? Sometimes I'd go out there with them. I did. We'd all run and play tag together, and throwing the ball back and forth. I would say playing softball, but we were always afraid we were going to break some windows, so we just threw the ball back and forth. If it wasn't a softball we were throwing, it was a football. But yeah. Or we would race bicycles, all kinds of things. My kids and I had fun growing up as kids. We did, because my childhood was taken away from me. And I don't know how much YouTube will allow you to talk about things, but there is something that I would like to talk about. I was born in 1963. I was born during a time that certain things that you went through were hush-hush. You just did not talk about them. My childhood was taken away from me just before I turned 4 years old. The very first time it happened, there was a hand put on my thigh, and they rubbed my chest. And they whispered in my ear, if you ever tell anybody, I will your mother and make you watch. Meaning she would not be living anymore. And that stuck with me for years. Imagine whispering that to an almost 4-year-old child. That lasted for 7 years. I was 11 when it stopped. I was introduced to things that shame me now when I see it. Fast forwarding many years, in 2010, I became a spoken word artist. And I found my niche in spoken word to be erotic poetry. I would try to hit all the erotica poetry scenes. And I remember once there was a pastor and wife in the audience, and they got up and walked out in the middle of my poetry. They didn't leave the premises. They walked into the foyer, and when I finished, they asked to see me. And when I stepped out in the foyer, mind you, I was not the first poet, and everybody was doing erotica. But when I stepped out into the foyer, the pastor himself said to me, "You look like a Christian." And I assured him that I am. And he said, "Why would you let such demonic stuff come out of your mouth?" And I said to him, he said, "I did not want to get up and leave, but I couldn't sit there and listen anymore." And I said, first of all, I felt that action to be unfair because I was not the first person who recited poetry. And mine was not as vulgar as a couple of people who went up prior to me. And you stayed. He says, "Because you look like such a peaceful and happy person." And I said, "And my poetry makes me happier because you don't know my past. But I will tell you, since you asked, I write about things that happened to me. This is my way of healing. If I can take the bad things that happened to me and entertain an audience with it and get snaps and go girls, then I've made somebody happy from what they think is a dream, but it was actually reality. If I get up and preface my poetry with, this is what happened to me when I was 4, this is what happened to me when I was 5, then everybody in there is going to be just as somber as I was feeling when I wrote it. And I'm not going to be happy bringing others down. If I just read it, it sounds like an adult's experiences, dreams, fantasies, memories, whatever. And everybody or most people are just, yes, go ahead, I hear you, whatever. Everybody's giving kudos. So if my mishaps can bring pleasure to someone else, why not? He stood there and he looked at me and he said, "I never thought about it that way." I said, "So, Pastor, what you were actually doing was judging me based on the words that you heard, because you didn't know my backstory until I just told you." I said all of that to say we have to be careful how we view people, label people, even describe people, because lots of times it falls under the realm of judging. And a lot of us say straight off the bat, "I'm not a judgmental person," but in a lot of ways, all of us are guilty of that. All of us are guilty of that. In some way. I have learned, when people ask me to describe people, my grandchildren taught me how to describe people. And the very first time when they were learning colors, we would always point to ourselves, "What color?" And my granddaughter, this is before me loving the sun so much, trust me, but my granddaughter would always look at me, and it was funny because I'd always, like right here, I'm like, and she'd say, "Yellow." No, baby, grandma ain't yellow. Yes, you are. So when my grandson got of age and started learning colors, him too, yellow. I'm like, no. So then when you ask them now to describe people, people are brown or copper or sand or peach or yellow or tanned or they don't. Somebody recently taught my grandson black and white, and it broke my heart when we were sitting here looking at TikTok last night, and there was one where the mother was asking the little boy what color was he, and he said peach. And what color was his best friend? He said brown. And she asked, is there a difference? And he said no. But when when the mother asked him what color, and he said peach, and my grandson said, so he's white, right? And I'm like, that crushed my spirit. I don't even know who introduced him to that, because they taught me so much in not labeling people, and it's hard to do when you are describing someone for someone. I would stick more to the Caucasian, and I would say melanated. I really didn't even like African American so much, because truth be told, when I trace my family tree, and I probably have to go back further, but the furthest I can get is Haiti. That's as far back as I have found. My grandmother's, as far back as I go, was Lithuania. I I'm not now. My On my father's side, my nephew found that we go back as far as Guinea-Bissau, I believe is the name of it. Um, so on my father's side, roots can be traced to Africa, but I was born in Richmond, Virginia. I was conceived in Washington, D.C. So I have never, ever, ever stepped on the soil of Africa unless someone bought soil from Africa and poured it down for me to walk on. But I have never set foot in Africa, so I don't care to be called African American. My grandmother was white. I don't even like saying that. I would say my grandmother's Caucasian. Or my grandmother's non-melanated. And my grandfather was very melanated. I'm good at that part. I am, but I don't get into the separation of races like that, because I think being raised biracially, uh, okay, we're putting that out there. We're talking. I think we are done a great disservice, because the melanated part of us is pushed so hard. And all I know about the Caucasian part of my background is what my grandmother told me. I don't know history and customs and, any hardships, or I don't know any of that. And it's so hard to find members of my grandmother's family to talk about it. Because, like I said, we come from an era where we just didn't talk about stuff, Uh, More along those lines. I don't like ma'am and sir. Don't like it. I don't like for people to say ma'am to me. Coming up, when my grandmother would hang around her friends, and they'd be sitting there playing tunk, gin rummy, bid whist. Everybody called everybody by first names. There was a group of like 6 women, and my grandmother was the only one who was married to a melanated man. All of them were completely Caucasian families. except my grandmother being married to a melanated man. I got to play with their kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews, and it was cool. We were all just kids playing. As a matter of fact, the school that my grandmother worked for, she was the manager of the cafeteria there. Their son, Tommy, taught me how to ride horses. And because Tommy and I got along so well, we were like the best of friends coming up. His mother and my grandmother got together and decided that Tommy and I would be married when we got older. And I remember that conversation like it was happening right now in front of me. And Tommy's mother said to my grandmother, by that time, the barrier should be gone and the color of their skin won't matter. And it was so cute because Tommy and I went to college together. And he reminded me, well, he thought he reminded me, but he brought up that conversation. He said, you remember when my mom and your grandmama were talking about you and I being married? I'm like, yeah, I remember. Yeah. He said, so do you ever think that would happen? I said, I don't know. I'm a realist. So we tried the dating thing a little bit, and it just didn't work between us. Don't get me wrong, I love Tommy dearly. But there are elements of our personalities that just kind of clashed. We never argued, but we tend to see some very important things differently. And there were things that, we saw differently as children that we would work around. But if you put yourself in the same space with a person for the rest of your life, you can't avoid it forever. And these were things that just were not going to change. A lot of people could not understand as I got older when I would explain to them, and I just got to the point that I could really talk about this after being shunned so much back in the day. I am a Democrat with very strong Republican views. And a lot of people don't understand that. And they go, oh, well, you're a liberal. Oh, well, you're an independent. No, they tend to come at things sideways with grand ideas of fixing things that can't be fixed overnight. And I'm a realist. I think that everything major, like the condition of our world, can't happen with the snap of a finger. It's going to take a process. And it's not guaranteed. Now that's the Democrat part of me. We gotta fix this and make it better. We gotta have the people to come together in an understanding. But at the same time, there is no guarantee, it's Republican coming out, that it's going to work to everybody's favor. Therefore, we have to cater to the greater to make the greater good. Because sometimes the greater is in a position to teach and show how this gets done. So, yeah. See? And I'm hoping I haven't made any enemies in me stating that. It's just the breakdown of it to me. But back to the original thought of this. When I went through those 7 years of my life, I felt abandoned. I felt scared. I felt singled out. And there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of confusion because I knew what was happening to me was bad. But at the same time, An element of it makes you feel special because nobody else is getting this treatment. At least you don't think there is. It's all about you. And then coming from a child who was bullied, I was bullied a lot. I was beat up a lot. You know, my nickname is Muddy, y'all. You know, when I went to a different level of elementary school, third and fourth grade expressly, they called me half-breed. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard coming up, and what was even harder was having a teacher as a mother, and when things would happen within the educational institution, and the word, if it was something bad on my part, and the word got back to mom, sometimes instead of listening to what I had to say, at that moment she was teacher, I was student, and she went right along with the lines and ideas of the teacher. When I was in third grade, was started out in the accelerated classes. My teacher, I don't know what it was about these teachers at that school, but they were very, I'm not going to say afraid, but they really did not care for children of teachers, because I wasn't the only one who went through it. But my teacher, my first third grade teacher, called me up to her desk one day. This is like the second, third week of class, of school. And she says to me, when we have tests, quizzes, and work to do, I need you to slow down. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm making mistakes or something. You know, she says, you're intimidating the other students. Okay. When you turn your paperwork in so quickly, it makes them feel slow. Okay. Okay. Now I have to process this. You want me to slow down so they can feel caught up. It's not about teaching me and making sure it's about me taking a back seat to the masses so they can be where you want them to be. And please accept what I'm saying and don't read anything into what I'm saying. So slow down. I would make sure I was either the last or next to the last person to turn my paperwork in. PTA meeting was coming around. We all had projects to do. I picked a very complicated one so that it would take me time. I was making a parrot. I had the blue background paper. I drew the parrot on the page, and then I used the cardboard where you would take the scissors and, you would hope it doesn't cut the paper so you can see what I'm saying. But I really need to strip it, but you would kind of, so it would curl the paper. And I had these little, I knew to do it harder if I wanted a little Shirley Temple curl, or do it just kind of soft if I wanted a curve. So I had one little section, the breast section of the parrot left to do. Probably about 15 little strips to do. And we'll say Miss W. I won't disclose her name. It's funny, both of them had a last name W. But the first Miss W said, save that part and show your mom. It'll be like a show and tell when she comes to PTA. Okay. Everybody else had simpler projects. Some were complete, some weren't complete. This lady stood there in front of me and said to my mom on PTA night, see, this is what I mean. She's not able to keep up. Lady, you just told me not to finish this. But coming from the time period that I came from, If I had said that at that moment, I probably wouldn't have teeth today. And y'all who are my age and older know what I'm talking about. That's when you get a snack. So I had to keep it to myself. Excuse me. Yes. Okay, give me a minute, baby. Okay. And I teared up. My mom being a teacher, felt like the teacher knew best. She followed what the teacher said and allowed her to place me in a remedial class. Y'all, where I came from my home to my school, if the teacher says sit down, that's what you did. If the teacher says stand up, that's what you did. The classroom was quiet unless you had mingle time or whatever. Y'all, when they opened this latest classroom door, there were children standing on the desk. They were running around the classroom, and all you could hear was this second Miss W, about my height, way back then, running around talking about, shut up, sit down, I want y'all to stop all of this. And I was like, oh my God. What am I walking into? I'm going to have to open my mouth and talk to my mama because I can't do this. First day in the class, the second Miss W walks up to me and says, you think you're so smart because you're a teacher's daughter. And she slaps me. I hadn't said anything to anybody. I had not even had a chance to introduce myself to the class. Get over there and sit down. I'm crying, cheek red. I go over and I sit down. I'm getting the ha 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 ha, from classmates that I don't even know yet. There was one girl in class that came over and gave me a hug and said she was like that with the last person that came in here too. Maybe they'll move you out of the room. Well, me and that young lady ended up being best friends, and I did not get moved out of that class. So I go home that afternoon and I tell my mom what happened, and my mother says to me, you're exaggerating. She would never walk up to you and just smack you. What did you do? What did you say? What? I don't lie to me, Kathy. I'm not. I'm trying. Don't even worry about it. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. So the next day I go back in this lady's class. Made up my mind, I'm only going to answer questions that she asked me. I'm not saying anything else to anybody. If anybody in this class asks me anything except the teacher, I'm not talking. I've seen what she does to those students, pulling them by ears, popping their hands with the wooden paddle, all kinds of things. I've seen it. I'm not going to be one of those. She comes over to me. I don't even remember what the topic was. But she's talking. She asked me a question, and I answered it. What did you say to me? I told you. You think you're so smart because your mom is a teacher. You won't get away with that in my class. And she slaps me again. And all the memories of the day before came back to me. The fact that I had tried to tell my mother what was going on, and she turned it around so that it was my fault. I hit her back. Not proud of it. Not proud of it. For the little when my mom got home that evening, she came storming in the house. So you hit a teacher? Yes, because answer the question. That's how my mother was. Answer the question. Don't offer any extra explanations. Just answer the question. Did you hit your teacher? Yes. Everything else was shut down. I did not get to tell my mother until I was over 30 the fact that Miss W, I can say her name, Miss Waldo, used to slap me every day. And that was why you would get a letter through the Pony Express every day saying that I hit her back. Because the first day it happened, I came home and tried to tell you what happened, and you dismissed it. You turned it around so that it seemed like I deserved it, and I knew I didn't, and I didn't feel like I had your backing on this. So I handled it the best way I knew how. And if it meant I had to get my bottom warmed, that's what we call spankings, bottom warmings. If it meant I had to get my bottom warmed every day, then so be it. It was worth it to get her to finally stop slapping me. So that was a sacrifice that I made. But I went through a lot of that as a child. So when this guy would single me out and take me out to get candy and take me shopping and introducing me to other people, and there were some introductions that I wish I had never gone through. But as bad as the situation was, these types of people have a way of making the victims feel special, making them feel a different type of loved, making them feel that the people who really do love them don't. They're manipulators. They're not just, we're going to say pedophiles, but they are manipulators. They're gaslighters. They are emotionally constructive individuals. And when you're dealing with a child, with the child's mind, it's not hard to do. So as I said, coming through the years and not being able to talk about this, it didn't come out until I was 50. It came out in a poem which I call my signature piece. And there was a part in that poem where I said, my mother came to Carolina to scoop me, brought me back to old Virginia where I would meet Tony and he would turn me into his wifey, only 1 year older than 3. And I finally got to be featured. That means you get like a little 15-minute window to just spit poetry. And it was my first time. And my mother was such a supporter of mine that she went too. And I remember when I got to that part and I got ready to say it, I looked her right in her eyes and I said to myself, I gotta say it. I gotta tell her. But I was scared because, like I said, the first thing he said to me was, if you ever tell your mother, I will her and make you watch. So I took a chance and I spoke it. And on the ride back home, there was silence until we pulled in the yard. And my mom said to me, so how long did this go on? And I told her. And she said, why didn't you tell me? And I told her why I didn't tell her. And I said, on top of that, I also felt like if I told you, then the same thing he said he was going to do to you, you were going to do to him, and the penal system would take you away from me. Either way, I would have been without my mom.
So I say all of that to say that we are living in a different era. We're living in a different time. Women, men, girls, and boys, you don't have to suffer in silence. Find somebody you love and trust and tell them. Because all it takes is situations like that that open the door for other bad situations. I went through so much more. I went through the R word 8 times. Once by my husband. I went through physical abuse. I went through emotional, financial, psychological. I went through all kinds of it. And I even now wish that the people that I have in my life right now I wish I could have had them so much longer ago. I promised myself I wasn't going to do this. But going back 5 years, my mother was sick. And the morning she passed away, I was holding her hand for a little over an hour. Every 3 minutes, I would just squeeze her hand a little bit and wait for her to squeeze mine back. And at 3:36 a.m. on the 16th of June, 2019, I squeezed her hand and she didn't squeeze back. And the very first thought that crossed my mind was, Tony did what he said he was going to do, even though he was nowhere around. And in talking to a therapist, I learned just how much of a stronghold that had on me, because I literally carried that inside me until my mother passed away. But I want to get this message out here to you all. Please, if there's anything negative that you're going through, there are people out here that love you. There are people out here who care for you. There are people out here who cherish you, that you can talk to, that will help you if you don't feel strong enough to do it yourself. Get out of a situation. These bad people, they say things to you to make you afraid to tell it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Tell it. I don't care if you're 50 and this happened to you when you were 5 and you've held on to it for 45 years. Tell it. You have no idea just how much pressure you will relieve yourself of in telling it. You've got to tell it. Oh. So, with that being said, my plans for the upcoming month. This is, let me see, May, June, July. This is my 3rd month. August, September, October. So somewhere between October and the end of the year, I am going to try to design a blanket It's going to be filled with love, but it's going to show the positive side of all the negativity that I've been through. Don't quite know how I'm going to do it, and it's something that I thought about back in March and just didn't figure out how I was going to do it. I have a little bit of an idea. Being a person who loves colors and textures, I've got a lot of research to do. That's why I'm planning it down the road. But it is going to be colorful, and it is going to be full of texture. I want it to be light and airy and warm and cozy at the same time. So they're going to be open areas. They're going to be tight knit areas, so that, and more than likely, it's going to be a blanket. I that's my niche, and that's what I do. So, yeah, that's what I'm planning on accomplishing. And for that, I would be more than happy to do a tutorial, because I think it will be healing. I think going through that process and knowing what either each row or each square or each part, or whatever each is for, just ouch, knowing that I'm releasing that negativity. And even if it's blends, even if it's going from the dark into the light, or however I choose to do it, I had to make up my mind first that I wanted to do it. I had to decide what I wanted to call it. And I've come up with like 4 or 5 different top titles. And at some point, maybe later in the month, maybe in August, I will present a poll, so I can see what you think about it, what you think about a title. And, maybe with that, it'll help me isolate how I want to go about it, whether it's going to be one big square, or a hexagon, or octagon, or multi-pointed, or a polygon, or just how I want to do it. Do I want a starburst? Do I want a circle? Do I want a rectangle, a square? Do I want something random and asymmetrical? I don't know, but it is going to be a blanket. It is going to be cozy. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to have me written all over it. All the confusion, yes, and all the love and all the peace, all over it. So we have that to look forward to. And once again, to my new subscribers, those who haven't quite made it home to their computer yet, to subscribe, because y'all, I be reaching out to folks. I'm trying. And my reason for this is because where I am in life, the only way I could do this by myself is that we were not in a depression, in a recession, in whatever you want to call this that we're in. That's the only way I'd be able to do it by myself. But at the same time, doing it with someone else, us partnering to do this, I want to be able to pull my weight. I want both of us to be able to live comfortably. I want, and I've always said I don't want to be rich. I don't know if you call what I want in life rich or not, but I'm a traveler. I am one who likes to take road trips. I don't care if it's just to a different city. For my birthday one year, I worked at a hotel. I literally went to the hotel next door for 3 days.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I did. And it was one of the better birthdays. It wasn't the best, but it was one of the better ones. And I enjoyed myself. It was just I didn't do anything, y'all. Seriously. I sat in the room. I sat in the room and crocheted, ate fried chicken, and um, drank Pepsi and Bacardi rum. I had bought myself a liter and can't call him my boyfriend. I used to call him my boy too, but my friend, bless his heart, he bought me a half gallon and a 6 pack of the half-liter Pepsis. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I wanna get back to those days. I wanna, be able to take a weekend and go somewhere. It means I gotta get me a car. Or even get in the position to rent one or whatever, just to free my mind, just to go over the things that I have to go over. My computer and my phone have become so important to me, and to go back and look at my weight chart and say, hey, I noticed, and I noticed here I was losing, and then here, well, what happened here? Because not only am I keeping the number diary, I'm keeping the emotional diary and the actual nutrition diary as well. So I'll know what I had to eat, how I was feeling that day. All of this plays a part in it, and I can look at that and say, hey, okay, well, I see here when I was down, I ate a half gallon of ice cream that night. Ooh, trust me, y'all have done it. Have done it. But yeah, I can away from everybody, sit back and reassess, sit back and rejuvenate, sit back and just breathe breathe life back into me. That's where I want to be in life. I want to be able to do that whenever it's necessary. And if it's necessary every weekend for 2 months, then I want to be able to do that. If it's necessary once every 2 months, I want to be able to do that regardless, without having to shift funds around or try to finagle this or even asking for the help. I want to be able to do it myself. But I want the same thing for my family. I want them to be able to. I don't want to struggle anymore. I have struggled all of my adult life, which is, and this is something, I don't think me being disabled should define my position in life. I think that this right here is a way for me to say, hey, I'm more than just this person that's confined to this chair most of the day, or a scooter whenever I get up and leave. So yeah, I'm looking to get me there. So we're gonna call this one quits. It's been an emotional ride in this hour and 15 minutes or so. But yeah, I love you guys, each and every one of you. Don't forget that. And just like I tell you always, when you walk past that reflection and look in the mirror, always tell that reflection, I love you. And please, please, please remember, know, trust, and believe that I love you too. Until we speak again,